"You're too incompetent to manage this business," my stepdad yelled, kicking me out of the family firm. Little did he realize I had already drained its key assets and would leave him drowning in debt. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of Sterling Enterprises, casting long shadows across the office floor. I inhaled the familiar scent of brewing coffee, a small comfort in the storm brewing within these walls. My name is Alex, and this place, once my father's pride, now felt like a battleground. My stepdad, Richard Sterling, ruled with an iron fist, treating me like an intruder in my own legacy. But today, as I walked past the humming machines, I felt a shift. Today, I wasn't just another employee. I was the architect of change. With a plan in motion, I glanced at Sarah, our silent ally, and knew the game was about to change. But would my gamble pay off, or would it cost me everything? The scent of brewing coffee and the hum of the office machines greeted me as I stepped into Sterling Enterprises. My name is Alex, I'm 26, and for the past 5 years I've been part of this legacy, a legacy that was once my father's pride. But now it's under the thumb of Richard Sterling, my stepdad. He married my mother when I was just a teen, and ever since he's treated me like an unwelcome guest at his own party. The company, which used to be the epitome of innovation in tech, now feels like a relic, clinging to its past glories. Richard's management style is all about preserving the status quo, not pushing boundaries. My mother, Eleanor, she's the peacemaker, or she was, before her health took a turn for the worse. Now she's more of a shadow in the boardroom, her voice barely a whisper against Richard's booming commands. Walking through the office, the tension was almost tangible. Richard was in his office, his voice echoing through the walls, probably tearing into some poor soul on the other end of the line. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for another day of silent warfare. But today, something was different. Today, I had a plan that could shift the balance of power. I glanced at Sarah, the head of IT, who gave me a knowing nod. She's been with the company since its inception, a silent guardian of its digital soul. To me, she's more than just a colleague. She's like an aunt, always there with a supportive word or a knowing look. As I approached my desk, the weight of the morning's strategy weighed on me heavily. The day started like any other, with Richard's loud voice echoing through the office, but this time, his anger was directed at me. He called me into his office, his face red with fury. "You're too incompetent to manage this business," he yelled, shoving me out of the office, firing me from the family firm like I was some useless intern. The humiliation was palpable, but I kept my composure, my mind racing with the plan Sarah and I had meticulously crafted. I had anticipated this moment, having spent months preparing for it. While Richard was busy with his ego, I had been working with Sarah, who had access to all the company's digital assets. Together, we had devised a plan to transfer the company's core assets to a new entity I had secretly formed. It was a risky move, but one that could potentially free the company from Richard's iron grip. As I walked out of the office, my heart was racing, not from fear, but from the thrill of the impending victory. I knew Richard would soon realize the empire he clung to so tightly was about to crumble. The air outside was crisp, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere inside Sterling Enterprises. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I texted Sarah. "It's done, we're moving forward," I typed, the words feeling both heavy and liberating. Sarah's response was immediate, a single emoji of a thumbs up, but I knew the weight behind it. She was as invested in this as I was, not just for the company's future, but for the legacy my father had built. I walked down the street, each step feeling like a march towards a new beginning. The city buzzed around. The next few days were a blur of activity. Sarah and I worked tirelessly, transferring assets, rerouting funds, and securing contracts under the new company name, Innovatech. Each move was calculated, each step taken with precision. I remember the adrenaline, the rush of knowing we were on the brink of something monumental. Every night after hours of work, I'd collapse into bed, my mind racing with the day's progress. Sarah, with her calm demeanor, was the anchor I needed. Her expertise in digital security made our plan not just feasible, but nearly foolproof. Meanwhile, Richard, oblivious to the digital coup, continued his usual routine. His arrogance was his downfall. He never imagined I could outmaneuver him. He was too busy basking in the glow of his perceived invincibility, throwing lavish parties, and making deals that benefited only himself. His empire, built on my father's legacy, was about to be dismantled piece by piece. One evening, as I was finalizing the last of the asset transfers, Sarah received an urgent call from Richard. His voice was frantic, demanding an immediate audit of the company's finances. The shock in his voice was evident when he realized that the core assets were gone. I could hear the panic, the desperation in his tone as he questioned Sarah, his voice rising with each word. "What do you mean they're not there? Where are they?" His empire was crumbling, and he knew it. Sarah, ever the professional, kept her cool. "I'll look into it, Richard. There must be some mistake," she said, her voice steady, betraying none of our involvement. As I listened, my heart pounded. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of months of planning. I knew the confrontation was inevitable, but was I ready for Richard's wrath? The air was thick with tension as I imagined the scene at Sterling Enterprises. Richard, his face, red with fury, would be tearing through the office, demanding answers, his empire slipping through his fingers like sand. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. The game was changing, and I was no longer the pawn in Richard's game. The office was eerily quiet the next morning. Richard had called an emergency meeting, his face pale, his usual confidence shattered. He accused me of theft, of betrayal, but I stood my ground. "You've been stealing from me, from this company for years," I countered, my voice steady. "I've merely taken back what was rightfully mine." The board members, many of whom had been loyal to my father, were in a state of shock. They had seen the company's decline under Richard's management, but were unprepared for such a drastic move. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, Richard's threats grew louder, but I had one final card to play. I stood up, my heart pounding in my chest, but my voice clear and resolute. "Richard, before you continue with your accusations, there's something you should know." I paused, letting the tension build. "I've not only reclaimed what was mine, but I've also ensured that the company's future is secure, away from your mismanagement." The room fell silent. Richard's face contorted with rage and confusion. "What are you talking about, Alex?" he spat out, his voice a mix of anger and fear. "I've formed a new company, Incompetent," I announced, my gaze sweeping across the room. "And with Sarah's help, we've transferred all the core assets, the patents, the client contracts, everything that makes this company valuable, to Incompetent. You've been running this place into the ground, Richard. It's time for a change." The board members exchanged glances, some with a glimmer of hope in their eyes, others with disbelief. My mother, Eleanor, who had been silent throughout the ordeal, looked at me with a mixture of pride and sorrow. She knew what this meant for her marriage, for the family. Richard's face turned an alarming shade of purple. "You can't do this. This is my company," he bellowed, slamming his fist on the table. "It was my father's company," I retorted, my voice cold. "And now, it's back in the hands of those who care about its legacy, not just its profits." The tension was, in the midst of the chaos, I revealed my trump card. I had secured a deal with one of our biggest clients, promising them innovation and growth that Sterling Enterprises could no longer provide. With this deal, Incompetent was not just a shell company, but a thriving new enterprise, ready to take the market by storm. Richard's face turned from red to ashen as he realized the full extent of his loss. Not only had I taken the assets, but I had also taken the future of the company. "You've lost, Richard," I said, my voice calm but firm. "This isn't just about revenge. It's about legacy. My father's legacy, which you've tarnished." The room was silent, the weight of my words hanging in the air. Richard, defeated, slumped into his chair, his empire now nothing but a hollow shell. I continued. "I've been working behind the scenes, ensuring that Incompetent isn't just a name, but a beacon of what this company once stood for. Innovation, integrity, and a vision for the future. I've signed a deal that will see Innovatech leading the charge in the tech industry, something you've failed to do. Richard's eyes darted around the room, looking for support, but found none. The board members, once his allies, now looked at him with a mix of pity and disdain. You've been living off the past, Richard, while I've been building the future, I said, my voice echoing in the now quiet room. I've secured partnerships, not just with clients, but with visionaries who believe in what Innovatech can achieve. We're already in talks with Silicon Valley giants, and we've got a pipeline of projects that will redefine our industry. The tension was palpable, the air thick with the scent of defeat. Richard's empire was crumbling, and he knew it. His once loud, commanding voice was now a mere whisper. How could you do this to me, to your family? I looked at him, my resolve unwavering. You've treated this company like your personal playground, Richard. You've neglected its potential, its people, and its legacy. This isn't. The fallout was swift. Richard was ousted from the company, his reputation in tatters. The board, seeing the potential in Innovatech, voted to merge with my new venture, ensuring continuity and growth. My mother, now recovering, expressed her pride in me, seeing her late husband's vision continue through my actions. Sarah became the CTO of Innovatech, her loyalty and expertise rewarded. As for me, I was now at the helm of a company poised for success, not just for profit, but for innovation and integrity. In the quiet of my new office, I reflected on the journey. It wasn't just about winning against Richard. It was about proving to myself that I could stand up for what was right, for the legacy my father left behind. I remember the day the merger was finalized. The boardroom was filled with a mix of relief and anticipation. Richard had been escorted out, his belongings packed in a box, his once commanding presence now a mere shadow of its former self. The board members, many of whom had known my father, looked at me with a newfound respect. They saw in me not just the son of the founder, but a leader who had the vision and the guts to steer the company back to its roots. My mother, Eleanor, her health slowly improving, sat at the end of the table. Her eyes, filled with tears of pride, met mine. "Your father would be proud," she whispered, her voice still weak but filled with emotion. It was a moment of validation, a moment where the weight of the past and the promise of the future collided. Sarah, standing beside me, had her usual calm demeanor, but I could see the excitement in her eyes. She was now Innovatech's CTO, a role she had earned through her unwavering loyalty and expertise. Her promotion was a testament to her skill and our shared vision for the company. As the meeting adjourned, I walked back to my office, the office that once belonged to my father. The walls were lined with his awards, his innovations, his legacy. Sitting at his desk, I felt the gravity of my new role. This wasn't just about business, it was personal. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.